Good afternoon. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have everyone here. So join in. It is Russian Tips Day. Glad to have everyone. So as you join in, say hello and let us know that you're here. So Russian tips are really fun. There's lots of things that we can do with Russian tips. I'm going to show you some different ways of working with them. I'll show you working with them and just practicing. So that'll be kind of the first part. And then from there, then I'm going to show you a fancy way of working with them where we layer colors in a bag and be able to make pods with the bags and be able to do that. So I'll show you all of that. And then you'll see, like, it does not take very long to actually decorate these cakes with the Russian tips. It's really, really fast. So I think Magda's on and joining in, and others will be joining in. If there are questions that you have along the way, just let us know, and you can just post them right here, and then we'll be able to answer any questions that you might have. Today's Wednesday, and so we were open today. Oh my gosh, it seems like Wednesdays are like our busiest days, and so we were very busy. Came in to have like 20 orders online, and so that's great. So I think a lot of people are kind of planning on the things that they're going to be baking for the weekend. You know, it is Easter coming up, and so and Passover, and so people are making plans for the things that they're going to be baking. So we will be open again on Friday. If there are things that you need, just let us know. You can email us at mail@makeitsweet.com. And just like describe what it is that you're looking for. And if you would also then put your phone number in there, that makes it easy for us to then be able to get in touch with you if we have any questions as we're putting your order together. Then when you get here, all you need to do, if you want to, is just give us a call. You can pay over the phone, and then we'll rent it out to your car. And so we'll have everything, we'll go around and pull everything and have everything ready to go for you. And be able to do that. So on Friday here, it's going to be pizzas. So we're going to make two different kinds of dough. One is going to be a thin crust, kind of like a flatbread pizza kind of style. And then the other one is going to be a little bit thicker crust, but it's a deep dish. So it's a Chicago style deep dish pizza a la Lou Malnati's is what I'm going for. So we'll make both of those. I'll show you how to do it. We'll walk through the recipes and do that. I don't know if the information sheet is out there for the Russian tips, but I have one. And so we'll add that. If it's not out there yet, we'll add that, and it has the buttercream recipe and the things that we're going to do for the Russian tips, and then we'll have the sheet out. All right, there we go. All right, technology. So we'll see how it goes. I don't think it was asking for a password. It should not be. So we're going to start off and talk about Russian tips. So I bet so many of you guys have Russian tips that you had either bought for yourself, someone bought them for you, thinking, oh, I know that they like to decorate cakes and this would be a fun gift. And chances are they're in the back of your drawer, that has all of your cake decorating supplies, and you've probably never pulled them out. Or if you have, you played with them a little bit with like regular style icing, and you just weren't happy with what you were able to do. So I'm going to show you all the ways of working with them and go from there. So it's going to take us a little bit to get this rearranged because I need to pick the camera up and then point it here so that we can get it pointed directly to the turntable. But this is what we're making. So this has been around forever, But this is this is a Russian tip cake, and you can see the flowers on here. They're just so pretty, and so this was done in kind of colors for fall. We're gonna do more spring colors, so a little bit more Easterish and springtime colors, and be able to work with this. But you can see how the flowers have two colors. They have like the color on the inside and the color on the outside. And I'll show you how to make the bags and to make that work. So let me put this to the side. We'll get this rearranged, and we'll talk about Russian tips. So this has to lift up in order to point that here. Like up and down. Okay, we're getting there. Woohoo! Anyone getting seasick?
That's probably pretty good.
I think we're there.
It's good to go closer this way.
No, it's good. It's good. All right. Woohoo! You can see the turntable. We are good. That's where I'll concentrate everything. So Russian tips. These are huge. And so when you look at them, they are just massive. And so you have the big tip, and then you have the designs. I always say that the ones that I think are the best are ones where it doesn't really look like a flower. So look at like this one. It doesn't look much like a flower. You know, this one doesn't look much like a flower. There are some that end up looking like daisies that look like different designs. And they just don't make very pretty flowers. The ones that make the prettiest flowers are the ones where it has like designs on the outside or swirls or cuts on the inside, as opposed to it looking so much like a flower. Around the holidays, I saw some different designs that were for like snowflakes, and they were for like reindeer, and they just would not work. You know, you're not going to be able to have in one step, one pull, you know, be able to have a reindeer come out of an icing bag. It just doesn't work. So Russian tips have been around for a while, and the first ones that I saw were at a cake show, and they came in tubes like this, and all different kinds of designs. So there were 8 in the tube, and they were $65 for 8 of them. You know, and I bought them, and then I thought that they were so fancy that I was afraid to use them, and just they sat in the back of my drawer, you know, like my I should try these sometime kind of thing, and never did for a long time. And then they started to become more and more popular. I started seeing them on like cakes on Pinterest and all over. And so ended up being able to pull them out and play with them. And then we were able to find some where we were able to bring them into the store. And those are the ones that I'm going to be working with today. So these are made by a company called Atiko. And we have different styles of them here in the store, and so they're easy to work with, but they all work about the same way. So if you have a different brand or different styles, they're all going to work very, very similarly. And so that's what we're going to be working with. So I'm just going to pipe some directly onto this board, and I'll just kind of keep holding it up so that you'll be able to see. So when you're making the bags for these, what I like to do is put the tip down in and then actually mark the bag. So take your bag and you turn it kind of inside out, like the top 4 inches or so of the bag, and then you take your tip and put it inside the bag, and then mark it, because it's just so hard to know how much to cut off. So I mark it close to the end of the bag, just a little bit of a mark with your scissors, and then come back and cut your bag, and then push the tip in so that you have your tip just directly into the bag. And then put icing in just like normal, and so then you're ready to go with it. So I want to show you several of these and just show you what it looks like just with plain white icing. So I'm putting my glasses on so that I can see the numbers of the tips. So this is a number 247. This one actually has ridges around and then has some holes in the center. So a center hole and then holes just right around the center. So the way you want to use this, and all the Russian tips are gonna work the same with the exception of the ball one, and that one looks like this. So that one is going to be different. And I'll show you how to work with this one too, but all of the ones that are the large ones where it makes flowers all work the same way. So you want to hold your bag, do that standard twist in the bag so that it builds up the pressure. Hold that twist tight between your thumb and your first finger, and then you want to hold it so that you're close but not touching. So I'm about 3/4 of an inch away from my board, and I want to squeeze, let the icing build up, and then pull away. Squeeze and then pull away. You always want the icing to build up before you're pulling away. And the icing that we're using is an American buttercream icing, and this is stiffer than our standard icing. So what we did is we took our regular standard icing and then we ended up leaving out some of the liquid that's in there. And so it makes it stiffer. And so when you're practicing, what you want to do is practice going really close to the one right before, because that way, that's how you're going to do it on a cake. You're not going to have one over here and one over here and all over. You're going to be making it in clumps. And so that one's the 247 with the ridges. And so you can see the ridges that are on here. And I'm just going to kind of keep scraping and scrape back into my bowl and then be able to, will you get me a towel? And then be able to work on another section. All right, so that was 247. The next one I want to show you is a tip number 245. And so this one just has little curves on the outside, and it still has the same kind of center like the 247. So close but not touching, squeeze, let the icing go down and build up, and then pull away. And did you see my icing was just kind of pulling away from me? I just didn't let it build up enough. So squeeze, let it build up, and then stop squeezing while you're pulling away. Squeeze, let it build up, stop squeezing while you're pulling away. And so you can see the petals are on the outside, and then you have your inside piece with this. This is going to look so much different when we're using the ones that have two tones to it. It's going to look so much better, but it's easier to just practice with just your plain white icing. So go ahead and have some practice time with your tips, and then be able to have some time where you are working with it with the ones that are colored. Because once it's colored and then it goes back into your container, you can't put all the colors back in there. You know, it's going to end up being just brown icing and not be so pretty. All right, look at this one. So this one has swirls around it. This one's going to be more of a rose tip kind of shape with this one. So it's the swirls, and then it does have a little bit of a center. So same thing, squeeze, let it build up, and then stop squeezing as you're pulling away. And so with this one, you can see it has a whole different look than the one up here, just because of the shape of the tip. And I'm just practicing going really close to the one right before, so that I can have all of my flowers right next to each other. All right.
Got a little hard to tell. When
I know. White icing is hard to tell.
the colored ones will.
Yes, the color will make such a difference with it. This one is just all swirls, so nothing with a center. And so squeeze, let it build up. I can't say that enough. Squeeze, let it build up, and then stop squeezing as you're pulling away. And so then you have your petals with that one. And then one more. We're just gonna use 5 different tips. This one's my favorite one. So look, this one has like pieces around the outside, and then it has little petals on the inside. So this one makes a really pretty flower. So squeeze, let it build up. It did the same thing. Every once in a while, you know, you end up with a flower that's not so pretty. So if that happened on a cake, what I would do would be go right next to it with another one. And look, there we go. Then it's filled in and you'd never know. And so you have to just kind of commit, especially once it's on your cake. You have to just kind of commit and say, okay, that one's good enough, and work from there. So what ends up happening, the reason we need this icing to be stiffer is because we want the petals to hold up, but also it's very temperature, you need it to be very temperature stable, because the more that you're holding it in your hand, you're going to be warming up the icing that's in there. So even when I'm not working with it, I don't just hold the bag in my hand and say, okay, where should I put my next one? Because it's gonna be warming up the icing in here. You want it to be cooler icing so that it will hold up and hold its shape. So you have to kind of be mindful of all of that. So there's our practice with this. So you can see the different styles, the different designs, and once we are, I'll hold it down here so that you can see it better. So once we are working with the two-tone icing, then you'll really be able to see the designs and the things that we're working with this. All right. So let me put this away. I'm gonna show you our ball tip and what we're gonna do with that one. And so this one, I'm actually going to do this on a square of parchment paper. And I'm going to put these into the freezer. And that way, I'll be able to take the frozen flour, put it directly onto my cake, and be able to use it on my cake directly, rather than trying to pipe this directly onto my cake. So look at, these are this ball tip that looks like this. So it has, sometimes they have openings in them, and then it has slits on the side. And that's gonna make kind of almost like a, you know, if you look at it, it kind of looks like a big, almost like a peony kind of flower, where it has lots of petals on the outside. So when you're using this, what you want to do is hold the sides of your parchment, and then, so I'm going to try to do that so that you can still see what I'm doing. Maybe Randy will put his finger right here and hold this side. I'll hold this side. There we go. All right, teamwork. All right, so this I'm going to twist, 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 and the tip is actually touching. Twist, twist, twist. And you don't have to do it on a turntable. And then I'm just gonna stop and pull away. And so then what you end up with, you can see like the petals that are on here, you know, it ends up being like ruffle kind of petals that are on here. And look, there's an open part to the center. That's fine. I'm gonna fill that in with a center anyway. So not a worry. That's exactly what it's supposed to look like. So there we go. There's one. I'm gonna make 2 of these. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm going to hold this and I'm just gonna squeeze, 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 and then stop squeezing and pull away. And see, this one was not so pretty because part of it kind of pulled away and part of it stayed on my tip. So one more. I would just scrape that one off and then put it back into my icing bucket. All right, 1, 2, 3. So squeeze, 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 and then stop squeezing and pull away. This one did the same thing. My icing's not wanting to come out of this side here. I see what's going on with it. So luckily, you know what? I have some that are in the freezer, so I'm gonna go with one for right now. So Practice. That's what this comes down to. And patience, because none of these end up being just perfect. And so it's okay. Either I could kind of mush this together, there we go, and have a flower that looks a little better, so that would be fine. Or just scrape this off and do it another time. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna scrape it off, use this icing for something else, for filling my cake. And then I have my one that was beautiful, and so that'll go into the freezer. All right, so let me show you what we're gonna do for making our bags. So the bags that we're going to do, they have two tones to them. So the inside is gonna be white, and then the outside is going to have color to it. And so we're going to use this same buttercream icing, and I'm gonna do two different shades of the color so that then I can have two different styles. It's gonna look like two different colors. So I already did the purple this way, and you can see I have a very light that will be more like a lavender, and then a darker color that will be my purple. And so I'm gonna do the same thing with the pink. I'm going to put just one drop in, and that will be my very light pink, and then I'll add more pink to it, and that will be my darker pink. So one drop, there we go. And this is gonna be my very light pink. And so just mix this up. And this is a great way of being able to have multiple colors of something, because, you know, every time you have your gel colors, you have multiple colors right in that gel. You know, if you use just one drop, it's gonna be the pastel version of it, versus if you use a whole bunch of it, then you're gonna get the intense color with that. And so that's what we're using, are the gel colors. So these are made by Americolor. This is a gel paste, and that won't thin out my icing. All right, so there we go. I have that very, very soft pink. And now I'm going to take a piece of plastic wrap, and I'm going to put it down on my table. So I know, fighting with plastic wrap is always so fun, right? There we go. So I have a square of plastic right here. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put some icing out onto here. So this is maybe about 4 ounces or so of icing. It's not a huge amount, so maybe like half a cup of icing. And I'm just gonna spread this out to about an 8-inch square. And it doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. So I have my 8-inch square there, and then I'm going to take some white icing and put it right in the middle. So a little bit less. This is probably, you know, more like a 1/4 cup of icing that I'm putting here. And I'm just gonna spread this, and I'm gonna go from end to end. So I'm all the way at the ends, but I'm gonna leave the top and the bottom. I'm leaving about 1/2 inch to 1 inch on the top and bottom. And there we go. All right, so now we're going to fold this. So this is kind of like taco style. I want this end to meet this end. So pick up your plastic and put the ends together, and then just kind of use your hand, push it together, and then I'm going to roll this and then twist the ends. All right, there we go. So I have my little icing burrito. All right, so there we go. All right, let me show you one more, because then what I can do, I'm gonna turn the rest of my pink that's in here into a bright pink. So now I'm adding a bit of color in there so that I'll be able to get that really bright pink. I like to do this because that way the colors end up matching so perfectly. You know, you end up with those colors that work so well together. So I always like to use like if I'm using multiple colors, you know, use that the pastel version and then use the really bright intense version. And you can see this pink goes to being like really bright pink. So it's called the deep pink, and definitely is deep pink for sure. All right, another piece of plastic. There we go. All right, so pink down first, and you can layer multiple colors with this. So it doesn't have to just be one, you know, layer or two layers like what we're doing. You know, if you wanted to make, you know, think about unicorn cakes or rainbows or all different kinds of things that you could do, you know, with really bright colors or fun colors. You can definitely do this with multiples. So this pod technique is a really, and that's what these are called. The little burritos are called pods. And so I think this is just a really fun technique. Even if you're not using Russian tips, you know, think of like just using like a standard like 1M, you know, like what we use for, you know, for cupcakes and like that swirl kind of look. There's so much that you can do with it. All right, so there we go. I have that. Let me put some white in here. So the Russian tip cakes have a lot of icing on them. There's no way around it, you know. So I made a double batch of the icing, like the regular icing recipe. I made a double batch of it, and that's in all of my bags here. I'm gonna end up with extra icing, you know, when we're done, but there's still just a lot of icing that goes on here. All right, so end to end, so I have my white that goes all the way to my ends, but I've left a space at the top, leave a space at the bottom, and now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna fold this so that this end matches this end. There we go. And I don't mind where it looks like a little mottled in here. See how like the color's not 100% mixed in? I actually like when that happens. I think it makes it look a lot more natural on the cake itself. Flowers are not just like one color. They're a gradation of colors and, you know, a variety. All right. So there are my two pinks. So, you know, you wouldn't even know that they're necessarily made out of the same color. You know, you're able to do that. And did you see I only used that one bowl too? So you don't have to dirty a bunch of bowls that way as well. So when you're putting these into your bags and getting ready to use them, what you want to do is have your tip ready to go. I actually like to use the bigger bags. You know, those of you that have been in class with me before for like cupcakes and cookie decorating know that I always talk about using the 12-inch bags because it's easier on your hands. You don't put as much icing in them. You know, they're easier to work with. But this is the time to actually pull out the bigger bags because it's easier then for the bag to come up around the pod. It will fit in a 12-inch bag if that's what you have. It would work, but the 18-inch bag, it just makes it a little bit easier. So when you're putting it into the bag, what you want to do is your end that's gonna go on the inside, just cut the end off. So I'm just cutting where I had twisted, and then I'm just gonna drop it right into the bag, lift up on the sides, and then I have my bag ready to go. So see how like the 18-inch bag just makes it so that it fills in the bag a little bit easier than if we were using a 12. So I have some bags ready to go here. There we go. This also makes cleanup really easy. At the end, remind me to show you what you do with this. You just lift the pod right out, and then it makes cleanup much easier. I know a lot of people that end up doing the pods even for their regular icing, and that way they can reuse their disposable piping bags and not have to worry about cleaning them out time and time again. All right, we are almost ready to decorate. So I have my 2 pinks, I have a yellow bag made, and then I have 2 purples. So I have a very light lavender and then a darker purple. So I have all of those ready to go. All right, let me just move this to the side, get my turntable back. If you don't have a turntable, no worries. You don't have to have a turntable for this. You can just do all of this directly on your table, or use a Lazy Susan, or different things. It makes it easier to smooth out the center, and so that's why I like to use a turntable for it. All right, let me grab a board here. There we go. All right, so I'm just using these gold scallop boards. Any kind of board would work, or a cake platter. If you were just putting this onto a platter, that would be fine. So just do it straight onto your platter. That would work just perfectly. All right. So the cakes that we're using, these are made by a bakery supply company. And so these are just frozen cakes that are in plastic wrap, and so that's what I was doing, was getting the plastic wrap off of there. I'm gonna take a little bit of icing and put it right on my board, and that's gonna be my glue that's gonna hold my cake right on there. And then put your first cake on, and this one's gonna be bottom down. And then you want to take your bread knife, or some people call it a roast knife. I call it a cake knife. And so this is massive. So it's a really long one. I don't think you can even see the whole thing. It's like 14 inches long. And so with this, I'm just going to use a sawing motion. Keep it very level and use a sawing motion. And I want to get rid of that hump that's on here. So I like to hold my hand on the opposite side till I'm about halfway, and so that's where I am. So then stop, move your hand to the opposite side, and I'll move it away so that you can see I'm just keeping my knife nice and level. And then pull this away. This is snack now. So perfect. You get to have snack, Randy. All right, and look at the holes in this cake. Oh my gosh. That's from over mixing. That's what happens here when it's over mixed. So we did not bake these cakes. So remember that. This was not us. All right, so I'm gonna take some of my icing and I'm gonna put this on the inside. You could use any kind of filling if you wanted to. You know, if you were gonna use like a jam or a jelly, you would do what's called a dam and put icing all around the edge, because that would keep it from seeping through. But I'm just gonna use some icing on here as filling. That Pastry Pride and Bavarian cream that we used the other day for cream puffs would be perfect in here. That would be delicious. All right, so now I'm just gonna take my spatula. I need a little bit more icing, so I'm gonna squeeze some of my extra from here. There we go. And I'm just going to hold my spatula where I'm holding my index finger on the crook and then holding onto the handle. And then I'm just gonna wave it back and forth. There we go. And now, since I do have a turntable, I'm just going to use the turntable to my advantage. I'm gonna hold my spatula and I'm just gonna turn. It just smooths it out. There we go. And you know what? You don't have to do that. It's just, I have a turntable and it's here, and so I thought I would show you how to do it. All you need is some icing to hold it together. So that's really all we're doing, is holding this. This is our glue to put the next layer on. So this layer, I don't mind that this one is domed up. I'm gonna leave it that way. So normally what we would do if I was making a layer cake is that I would go ahead and put this one, I would take this off, take this layer and put it up here, cut off the top, and then it would end up being cut side to cut side. But this time I don't mind seeing that dome or having that dome. It's just gonna make it look a little bit more realistic that my flowers aren't on just a flat plane. So I'm gonna put this where it is bottom down, which is kind of not usually done in cake world. So there we go. There's my cake. Here's my next layer. All right, and just press it so that it's kind of attached. Make sure that it's attached. And now I'm just gonna take my spatula. I'm just gonna go around and kind of clean up my edges here. There we go. All right. I have some green icing in a piping bag, and I need to get a tip number 18. And so I'm going to, or a 16 is fine, 18. So any kind of star tip will definitely work for this. And so I'm just using the small star tip, and I am going to take the ring off, put the tip on. There we go. Randy got me a 17. That one's a little bit bigger, so it'll go a little faster. Put the tip on and then screw the ring on to hold it together. And then you can just draw lines. So I like to do it where it's just lines. You can do all different kinds of designs on the side here if you want. But I think just the lines are really nice. All I'm doing, I'm just kind of cleaning up my board. It had a little bit of icing on there, so clean it up. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start at the bottom and just squeeze and pull to the top. Go right next to it, squeeze and pull to the top. And you know what? I'm not going to make you have to watch me go around the whole cake. I'm gonna finish this up later. I'm just gonna finish a little section here so that you can see what it looks like. If you want to do this with a round tip, you could definitely do it with just a round tip. That would be fine. I would choose maybe like a 6 or a 7. I just think this kind of looks fun. It's very textured and gives you a good look for it. For looking like it's the stems of our flowers. All right, while I do a few more of these, Randy's gonna run to the freezer and get the flowers that were in the freezer so that I can put them on the top. And then I'm gonna show you what we'll do for decorating, and you'll see just how fast this goes. So what's really funny, I have heard from so many people after they've been in class that they have made like Russian tip cakes a lot just because of how fast it is. You know, it takes a little while to color all your icing and to make the pods and to do that. But then once you have that part done, the rest of it goes really fast. In fact, in class, you know, classes are normally like 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. In class, most of the time we don't get to the point where we are actually decorating the cakes till about 8:30, and then everyone's just amazed at how quickly it goes. So even this, you know, with the side, I have almost a fourth of it done. You know, so it goes pretty fast. You know, once you're ready to go, it's not so bad. And then I'm gonna get a leaf tip and be able to use that for my leaves too. Tip number 352, so it'll be in the middle drawer. Magda, I miss you. Did I say that? It's gonna be in the boxes, yeah. All right, so Look, these are the, I'll get it in a second. So these are from the freezer, and so they are frozen pretty solid, and so it makes it easy then to be able to put them directly onto your cake. So I'm just gonna peel it off of my piece of parchment, and I'm just gonna set it directly onto my cake. And as it thaws, it's just gonna kind of meld in with the cake. You can't leave them out for a long time before you're ready to use them because you won't be able to peel it off of your piece of parchment. All right, there we go. It's the other one. I don't need it. The middle one, the middle drawer. Middle drawer. No, the second drawer down. There we go. All right. So here we go. So now what I'm gonna do, I always like to just go straight onto the cake, and I'm just gonna do this and go straight onto the cake and just go for it. I like to do it in sections as well. So I'm gonna put like maybe 5 or 6 here and then 5 or 6 here, and then just move around in sections rather than trying to have all of them all over the place. So if I just put like one yellow, that's hard to then fill in. It's easier to work in sections with it. So when you're doing this, just kind of commit and say, okay, here we go. So, okay, here we go. All right, so I like to go around my flowers first because that way I know that I can fill in the rest of this. So I'm just gonna be straight up and down, almost touching, but not quite. Go close, squeeze, let the icing touch and build up, and then pull away. And look how different that looks because you can see multiple colors in there. Go close, squeeze, stop squeezing, pull away. There we go. And so I have my darker purple. I'm gonna fill in a little bit more here. All right, so look how pretty that looks with the white in there in the centers and then purple around the edges. It just gives a whole different look to this. So I'm gonna start with that. And then I'll do a couple of them on this side. There we go. All right, so that's my purple. I'm gonna go to my light pink now. And there's no rhyme or reason to the colors and like putting them next to each other. You can do all different kinds of combinations. So this one is the one that's more the swirl. So this one is more like a rose tip kind of look. So I'm gonna squeeze, let it build up and pull away. That pink looks pretty against that purple. So there we go. I have and it has the white centers to it. So you see that variation of the colors there. So I'm just gonna come right in here. All right, so I have my pinks in there. I'm gonna put some yellow. And so this one is the one that has like the edges. So it has the crescents around the edges, and then it has a center. So go right around my flower. Did I cut the end of this one? Did you see what was going on? It just wasn't wanting to come out. I did, but not enough. All right, so if that's ever happening, it just means that this wasn't cut quite enough. So pull the pod back out, squeeze this together, cut a little bit more. So I'm just gonna cut a little bit more off of the end. There we go. Put it back in. Ta-da! All right. Squeeze, let it build up, and pull away. that yellow is so pretty. All right, with our white centers. I think this is just kind of like a perfect springtime cake with the flowers on here. And you do not have to tell anyone how easy this is to do and how fast. So you don't have to confess. All right, there we go. And then I have one more. I have my brighter pink. And that'll go right here. So I'm gonna fill in all the rest of it. So squeeze and pull away. There we go. See how we have our white centers and pink on the outside. All right, there we go. I am almost done with this cake. So this is gonna go, the rest of it's gonna go really fast. So I'm gonna get a tip number 352. So this is that larger leaf tip. And so I'm just gonna change my green that I was using for the sides. I'll finish up the sides. And put some leaves in here. And then I have to fill in the centers of my flower with a tip number 3. And so I'm gonna use the same green for the centers of my flowers. And so for the leaves, the way that you want to use this tip, see how it looks like a V? The way you want to use this tip is where the points of the V are up and down to each other. And so I want them to be horizontal, or I want them to be vertical to each other, not horizontal. If it's horizontal, then what ends up happening in their side to side, then you end up with kind of like just a long line. If you end up having them up and down to each other and you squeeze and pull away, then you end up with your leaf. And so it makes a big difference with it. I always do this in class and demonstrate that on my hand. And so end up having to clean off icing off of my hand all the time. All right. So you want to angle the back of the bag towards your shoulder, and I want to squeeze and pull away. Squeeze and pull away. And I just kind of fill in first a little bit around my edges. And if you had already done your sides, then you would kind of know where you need to do it. I haven't finished my sides yet, so I don't really 100% know where it needs to go. But like I can see it like here. So see where I have like a blank spot there and along here. That way I know I need to fill in with some leaves there so that I have it all filled in. And there's nothing wrong with seeing some cake underneath, but this way you don't have to see cake underneath. I can also go on the inside, and I'll show you doing that with a little bit of the leaves. I don't like to put a ton of them inside, just a few. And so I'm just gonna go in like right here. I'll lift this up a little bit. So right here between like right there, you know, you always find some spots where some leaves could kind of fill in. So this one is a little bit more straight up and down rather than angled. So I'm straight up and down, squeeze and pull away. And just a few little spots. I'm not gonna fill in a bunch with leaves. There we go. I think that's it for on the inside. Let's see. Sometimes just turning it around kind of lets you know that there's some more spots that you could fill in with. If you wanted to, you could make a different color green. So you could make like a lighter green or a darker green or a different color, or use like yellow or something else for the centers of your flowers. That would be fine. I'm just going to use this same green that I have, and I've switched to a tip number 3. So this is a small little round tip. And I'm going to just squeeze a big ball of icing first to start with, right in the center. And now I'm just going to take this tip number 3 and I'm just going to make little dots all in the center of the flower. And you guys that have watched like cookie decorating and cupcake decorating, you've seen us do this with other flowers. So I just like that additional texture that you end up getting from making all these little dots. You could just leave it as like the big ball of icing and that would be fine. But then the little dots really do give a lot of texture to it. So there we go. That's Russian tips. So they're not hard. There's nothing hard with working with them, but they do take some practice and they take patience. And then they take you just agreeing like, okay, I'm just going with it. Whatever it is that comes out and however it goes. Notice I did not take a single flower off when I was decorating, the same thing. So just like, take a deep breath and just go with it. That's the way to work with the Russian tips. But I love these colors. So it was the deep pink that made our very light pink, and also the darker pink. It's lemon yellow for the yellow, and you could make 2 colors of yellow. That would be fine. Just adding just a little bit of yellow and then adding more, and then the dark purple. Oh my gosh, I didn't even use the light purple on here. So oh well. There was a lavender on here too, so I could have used that, but I ended up with just the dark purple. So I have lots of extra icing here. I could probably make 3 other cakes for sure, and be able to do that. So maybe I'll do that for some friends. Who knows? And so Randy's gonna lift this up. And I'll talk to you about what we're going to be doing for Friday, and then encouraging you to let me know some ideas what you're looking for next week. All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining us for Russian tips. This was really fun. It's fun to show all different kinds of techniques and things that you can do. And what I really like to do is kind of demystify stuff. Make it so that it's easy, and take those Russian tips out of your drawer and use them, because they are really beautiful, and there are things that you can do with them that you just can't get that look any other way. So it's a fun tip, fun technique, fun things that you can do with it. So post your pictures on here. If you make a cake with Russian tips, please come back to this post and post your pictures in the comments. Those of you that have been in class with me before know that that's one of the ways that I start every class, is saying that I love hearing from people after they've been in class. And that part happens all the time. People want to pull out their phone or camera, and let's just do it virtually now, since I can't see you in person. So just post your pictures, and I would still love to see what you've done for making the things that we've shown on all of these videos. So Russian tips was today. That's perfect for cakes for this weekend. So I think that's really pretty, and I think they're beautiful Easter cakes. And then on Friday is going to be pizza. And so there's just so many ways that you can customize that and do different things with it. I bought some Italian sausage and some pepperoni yesterday, and I'm looking forward to pizza for dinner for Friday night, because that's definitely what we're going to be having. And so you can look up the recipe right on our website. So go to makeitsweet.com. And then go to our classes section, scroll down just a little bit and look for Friday's date, and then you'll be able to get the instruction sheet that has all the recipes and everything, all the ingredient list, everything that you're going to need for it. If you can't find flour, if you can't find yeast, we have that here. So we have a whole table set up out front. We have AP flour, we have cake flour, we have bread flour, We have whole wheat flour. We have, oh, Randy just shook his head. I thought we had whole wheat flour. But we have cake, bread, and AP flour. We have yeast, and so we can take care of you. So if there's some stuff that you need, just let us know. If you're interested in ordering stuff, makeitsweet.com, or I'm sorry, mail@makeitsweet.com is your best email for that. So just email us and let us know the things that you're looking for, and then put your phone number on there and you can pick it up. We're here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 to noon, and we were busy today, so we were pretty hopping. So glad to have your support. Glad to have you here. Enjoy your Russian tip cake. Make one and take a picture. And so happy to have everyone here. Thank you so much. If you have questions, post them on here, and then I'll look back and look at the questions. Magda's on here, and she can answer questions and then go from there. So I look forward to seeing you on Friday, and then into next week. By Friday, we'll have our schedule for next week. It'll be the same way we did it this week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday for our Facebook Lives, and they'll always be at 1 o'clock. But you know what? You can come back and watch them anytime. They stay on our Facebook page, so just scroll down and be able to watch them anytime. And that's one of the fun things. You know, let's say you decide that you're wanting to decorate some cookies this weekend. You can go back and look at the cookie one. You can get our recipes and make some cookies for the weekend, and then be able to follow along if you want to, or just watch it as a primer, and then be able to decorate your cookies. So I really enjoy doing these, and still being able to stay connected with you guys. So thank you so much for watching, and for sharing, and for your support. And we look forward to seeing you later in the week and next week, and hopefully seeing you live sometime very, very soon. All right, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.